Welcome to my channel, INTJ Island. Today I'm going to talk about an INTJ doing the right thing. Before I get into that, I would like to wish you all a Happy New Year. This is my first video of 2019, and we have survived not only Halloween, the winter solstice, and 8 days of Christmas so far, but the entire year of 2018. 1 year ago, I had yet to create this channel or to upload my very first video. By the end of the year, over 1,800 of you had subscribed, and I can't thank you enough for that. I will do my best to continue to share my ideas here during the coming year. It won't take long for this year to get worn and tattered just like last year. We'll make ourselves at home and just get used to it before 2020 comes along and displaces it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Here we sit, poised and ready to begin a new year once more. It is a time when many people stop and look back at the past year, and even their entire lives up to this moment, and they make plans for this new year, an empty book with blank pages from off the shelf of time, in which to write out on the 365 allotted pages a journal of their lives day by day. For me personally, there are a lot of things tied to the start of the new year. This month marks the 50th anniversary of my meeting my first wife, and it also marks the 43rd anniversary of the final decree of divorce going through from that marriage. This month also marks the 47th anniversary of my first son being born, and it includes many other birthdays and events important to me. Time moves along as it will, and events happen. People are born, and they pass on, and like a wheel turning round and round, we are locked into a stream of repeating cycles. No two iterations of a cycle are exactly the same. Some are drastically different from others. But each year, people like to make New Year's resolutions and make plans for doing things that they will be proud to write down in the new book of blank pages. And consistently, most people give up on those resolutions before the ink can even dry on more than only a few of those pages. I honestly don't remember ever making a New Year's resolution myself. I am more inclined to evaluate each day, as the old chestnut suggests, as being the first day in the rest of my life. But no matter. What does matter, regardless of what day of the year it is what are you going to do today to impact the future? And that brings us to the idea of doing the right thing. What triggered this for me was reading last night in Atlas Shrugged, a scene where a man with blonde hair and flashing blue eyes confronted James Taggart, the head of Taggart Transcontinental Railroad. The man was Eddie Willers, and he was only 32 years old. Taggart was 39, but he looked 50. They had been boyhood friends, but Taggart looked down upon Willers as a serf, standing well beneath him. Willers loved the railroad, and he was also in love with James' sister Dagny, 2 years his senior, who was the operations manager of Taggart Transcontinental, and the one who actually ran the railroad in spite of her brother's incompetence. She kept poor Eddie in what is commonly referred to today as the friend zone, where he had zero chance of ever winning her heart. But he merely sat there and suffered throughout the book, never reaching his goal, even though he saw other men win her favors. From start to finish, he was to be pitied. However, his inner thoughts held an idea that is important. He was asked by Dagny when they were kids what he thought they should do with their lives, and his response was, the right thing. It forms a nice circle, really, for doing the right thing is doing that which is right, and of course that which is right is always good by definition. Otherwise, it would be the wrong thing. But it is right because it is right, not because it is defined as doing this rather than doing that. An action is a citizen of the land of right because it is sitting in that land, not because of what it is. If it were to immigrate to the land of wrong, it would cease to be right, and it would then be wrong. In other words, it is much like the problem discussed in the Euthyphro Platonic dialogue. Doing that which is right is in the end something you must evaluate for yourself. If you measure a test point in a power supply relative to ground, it might read as a positive voltage. If you reverse the leads, then ground will read negative. If you measure the voltage at another point inside the supply, it might read negative relative to ground. Again, if you reverse the leads, ground will give you a positive reading. In other words, ground, which is usually sitting at earth potential, and considered neutral with no net charge, can appear either positive or negative when you pick the right reference points. In order to take a measurement, it must be referenced to something. So the first step in determining the right thing to do is to pick the correct position from which to evaluate your actions. I think it is most logical to use your current position or state, but the choice is yours. Doing something will cause a change in your current position. Choosing what to do will require you to evaluate whether that action will move you in a good or right direction or in some other direction. Once you have established a base reference of where you are, if you then have a goal in mind, a destination point if you will, you can plan your next action or actions in order to move you from where you are towards where you want to be. Any action that moves you in that direction is a right thing to do. Other actions which move you in another direction will not be the right thing to do relative to this goal. Also, even if an action moves you in the right direction, it might still not be the best action. For example, walking to your distant destination might be a complete waste of time if you can drive the distance far more quickly. Naturally, being human beings, we are complex creatures and we have many goals going on simultaneously. We have the goals of taking our next breath, drinking our next glass of water, eating our next meal, and avoiding harmful events so that we may continue to exist. We have legal constraints, sociological demands, and family obligations. There are many things that we do continually to maintain our existence, our way of life, and so on. When an action produces conflicting results, it might aid in moving us towards one of our goals, but move us away from other of our goals. Then we must evaluate the impact of the action to see if it is doing more good or harm to our goal set. It is similar to vector addition in mathematics, where the tail of one vector can be placed on the point of another, and then a new vector can be drawn to show the combined result. For example, if you were in college, you might find that your goals for sleep, eating, relationship building, or any number of other things have to be set aside temporarily as you study for a test or write a paper for one of your classes. You might have to set everything else aside to do your assigned reading. If you are working at a job, it might be the right thing to do to stay late and finish a project tonight and miss a dinner you had planned. The right thing to do on one day might be the wrong thing to do on another day. If you have a plan in place where you have evaluated properly where you are and where you want to be, then you can likely answer the question, what action can I take from all the possible actions available to me that will be the most right action? Or, in other words, what action will be the best one for me to take right now? If you do that, you will be doing the right thing for you. Do you know what is the right thing for you to do? If not, what is standing in your way of finding it? Do you find this process to be easy or is it elusive? Please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please click like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you click on the bell, you will also receive notifications when I put up a new video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.